I guess I had no sound, and I went, okay, no sound. Good, haha. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is we're gonna start this over.
Hello, thanks, bye.
Okay, now listen to this.
Okay.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to restart this, and I'm going to start from the beginning. And of course, I had screwed up, so now I can recover from this. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to shut this off, restart it because I had noticed my microphone was not connected. Okay. So anyways, can you hear me now, Crystal, and Pat? Thank you, Pat, for calling me. I didn't even notice this. So I'm gonna delete this one, and or actually no, we can just continue it. Okay, so now that you're here, what I wanted to say was that we're trying to uh, see how we can help people with not have so many fears with this coronavirus. Okay, great. Now you can hear me. So with this coronavirus, actually, I've been doing some studying on it. And what I was trying to explain is that my background is in pharmaceutical market research. And I'm just going to bring this down a little bit. So because I was doing pharmaceutical market research, I ended up working on a project called voriconazole, which is VFENT. And this was in regards to the immune system and dirty hospitals, dirty equipment, people getting staph infections from their operations. Okay. So when I was doing this study with the oncologist, it was really amazing because I got to learn how some of the doctors were using different different other drugs with the VFENT so that they can help even HIV patients. So it really had great possibilities. Mind you, VFENT could be toxic for different things. So anyways, I did the study with the doctors with the VFEN a couple of times, and I learned a lot. And this is when I decided, okay, well, we needed to focus on actually, how could I say, infection controlled environments. Okay, so I began to work with also a couple whose child was dying of, well, he had an inoperable brain tumor. And ironically, where I lived on the island of in Point Claire, um, you have Highway 20 and Highway 40, and then you have two kids who lived on each side of Highway 20 and almost in line with each other. And this was a 4-year-old child and a 6-year-old child, another 6-year-old child who had the identical inoperable brain tumor. Both children were sent home to die eventually because there was nothing that the doctors can do. They couldn't operate on it and anything like that. And then there was a third child, a 2-year-old, who lived in another town, and she had the same type of inoperable tumor. So long story short, unfortunately, these children died. And I started looking at infection controlled environments and what can we do to help end of life patients, especially children. So with everything that I was doing, it ended up becoming a hospital project. So this is where my interests were when it comes to infection controlled environments and helping people with zero immune system to actually, try to maintain some form of safety and have more times, like with the children, more time with their parents and whatnot, and then even with seniors and other people. So I ended up learning a lot about proton cancer therapy that never existed here in Canada. If you look at Loma Linda University Hospital, I suggest that you all read up on this. Prostate cancer can be cured. Back in the early 2000s, it was $1,000 a treatment. You needed 41 treatments for prostate cancer, and you didn't even have to take, there's no real chemotherapy other than the proton. And what happens is you'd only be 10 minutes at the hospital. You were a minute to a minute and a half getting your treatment. The radiation in the room dissipated right away. Like there was no radiation really in the room, only where the tumors are, or the cancers. And I got to learn all about it. And it was, to me, it was like, wow, I'm in love with this machine. We can't get this in Canada fast enough. So I undertook everything to be able to get one here. But eventually, as time went on, I started learning other things. So, in regards to proton therapy, just to finish my story here, um, when somebody would go in for prostate cancer, what happens is, like I said, they'd only be having the treatment for 1 minute to a minute and a half, and then they'd be able to get up, go out the door, and play golf. But the treatments would be, like I said, 41 treatments to cure that. And then that you could only go 3 to 4 times a week to the hospital. So you were there many months. So a lot of people were staying in hotels and getting the treatments there from all over the world. So I had a friend who, his name is Leslie Dean Price, and he was also a scientist at Brown University in the States. And he had come up with cell fuel buses. And he was telling me all about this. And at the time, when he got operated for prostate cancer, he was 85. So he was very interested in what I was doing. So anyways, to make a long story short, is that the coronavirus, when you really look at it, okay, when you look at the studies and all of these documents and everything else, it's a lot simpler to start understanding the dynamics of what's going on. And right now, where we are, we're on Six Nations territory. You can go off the reserve, but you need to have a status card to come back in or be part of, like with us, we're taking care of an elder, so we're able to go in and out. But only for groceries and things. And for the first month, actually, we were in the house with our friend here, and we made a lot of discoveries with our friend, because our friend was hospitalized, and then she was told that she had stage 5 kidney disease, and maybe 6 months to a year to live. And even if she had dialysis, given her state, they weren't that hopeful. And for one thing, she did not want dialysis because she had seen her family go through that. So she wanted to go with conventional treatment. I said, okay, well, if you're willing, we're willing. And when you get out of the hospital, we'll bring you here. So what we did is we started introducing her to what I was showing you a while ago, is probiotics. Okay. So with everything that I know, and it really makes sense when I was doing the studies, what I would suggest that if you have a family, or I mean, all of your family members should start taking probiotics. Okay. And I would start with it's 1 to 3 pills a day. I would start with the 3 pills a day and clean your gut. If you focus on cleaning your gut actually controls a lot of your organs and helps. It also helps the heart. So if you have bad bacteria in your gut, okay, it's not going to help you. So you have to change that flora once in a while. I know a lot of people say, well, I eat yogurt. Well, yogurt, as far as I know, and I can see, it helps, but it's more like a Band-Aid, especially if you've taken antibiotics in the last year. Okay. If you've taken antibiotics, or your kids have taken antibiotics, please get them probiotics. Okay. And the cold ones, these ones here have a shelf life. You can order them with either in the fridge or like in a cooler, or ones that have a shelf life, but they're more, they have more potency if they're kept cold. So I would do the cold ones. So with everything that I was trying to read on stage 5 kidney disease, everything was coming back to the gut. And then I thought, okay, well, she's also been to the hospital. And with the voriconazole, the VFAN, the studies that I did, I knew about C. difficile. And the hospital that I want to create had to be free from C. difficile, because a lot of people die not from why they went to the hospital, but because of C. difficile. So if they were given an antibiotic in the hospital, good chances were that they would eventually, they might develop, with a bad gut, they might develop C. difficile. and with everything that's going around. And then C. difficile is also kind of connected to E. coli. So if you're looking at what's been happening with C. difficile over the years, it's expanded worldwide. It's killed many, many thousands of people worldwide. They never shut down the countries because of it. Why? So I started to look at the fact that, okay, if we're going to be fearful of a virus and everybody has to, that social distancing actually would be physical distancing, as one of the doctors put it. Um, we have to start bringing common sense into this. Why are the governments doing this? What's behind this? Does this even make sense? People are terrified of this. When we went to the pet store, I'm telling you, they had about 5 women in there, all with their masks and their gloves. And even though we were couples going to get things, they would only allow one person in the store. And oh my God, you know, um, they asked me, of I had to wear gloves because, of course, if you don't wear gloves, people are afraid of you. So we made sure we had our gloves so that we could actually go into the stores. But I didn't have a mask on. And, you know, one girl says, "Aren't you afraid?" I said, "Afraid of what?" The virus, the coronavirus is a flu, it's influenza. And it's been in existence for a long time. This is a different strain, yes. But if you look at Clostridium difficile, C. difficile, it's got 15,000 strains since the 1980s. 15,000 strains since. So a lot of the hospitals, if you look at Quebec lost over 639, I think, patients in 1 year alone from C. difficile. If you look at all of the provinces in Canada, you're going to be in shock, okay? Because this is way, way, way more dangerous right now than the virus, the COVID virus, okay? So when you look at all of these things and you know about C. difficile and you know about the fact that it's also propagated in seniors' homes, hospices, um, where people are gathered up in homes. Let's say you have a home that takes care of 10 patients. All of these things kind of connect. So, of course, this virus, coronavirus, will not help people who have underlying kidney disease, diabetes, pulmonary diseases such as asthma, COPD, all of these things. So when you look at really the death, and this is what I was trying to explain when I thought my mic was on, is that I also have the documents from China, okay? I don't know if you can see this, but anyways, I will be posting these links later. And these were the findings on the 99 patients who had the novel coronavirus. And they call it the novel coronavirus pneumonia. Okay, it's pneumonia, really influenza. Well, it turns into that. So when you're looking at all of the underlying diseases these people had, then did they really die of the coronavirus? The coronavirus, if you look at previous years, I mean, it's listed as a common cold, the common flu. So they never shut down the world for the common flu, right? But start looking at the numbers to see exactly how much, what the real totals are. So they're really playing with the totals. The media is playing into this. It's just unbelievable. Now we have doctors who are coming out and saying, "Whoa, wait a minute," and people with, some common sense still out there. But if you're really, really afraid, this is why I want to do this today. If you're really, really afraid of this coronavirus, okay, and you really don't want to catch it, then clean out your gut, okay? Probiotics, as long as you have the rhamnosus, okay, and the gasari in there, it will protect you against antibiotics that no longer work. And because this is one of the problems with C. difficile, also caused by people who have gone to the hospital and taken antibiotics or not taking their antibiotics fully. And what happens is the antibiotics actually attack your flora, okay, and it weakens it. So again, the immune system is very, very, very important. So it's not about loading up on thousands of vitamins, because what happens is if you have a bad gut, okay, you've taken antibiotics over the years, but you've never replenished your probiotics. And even though you eat yogurt, yogurt is just a band-aid. It's not going to clean out the whole flora. But from what we've been researching with our friend and everything else, yes, it makes sense that if we want to absorb vitamins and the nutrients that we're eating, we need to have a healthy gut. If we want to be able to fix the heart, we need a healthy gut. If we want to fix stage 5 kidney disease or any stages of kidney disease, we need a healthy gut. If we want to lose weight, we need a healthy gut. If all of these things come back to the gut, okay, because that's where all of your food gets processed and everything, and then everything kind of, gets sent to different parts. So a healthy gut should be priority for everybody right now, okay. The vitamins, yes, but the healthy gut, number one priority, please. So anyways, this is why I want to speak to you about this in regards to all of our findings. And I'm gonna explain more this week. I'm not sure at what time. I was thinking maybe evening, 7 p.m. To do these, but then everybody's at home anyway during the day, so we might do it during the day. Just leave me a message to see what times you think, you'd like to have us discuss this, because we have a lot of papers, a lot of research, a lot of figures to show you. And yes, stage 5 kidney disease can be reversed. Okay. So with our friend, what happened is they've placed her on palliative care here at the house. We ended up having to get, hospital bed, all of this, and make her comfortable. And, she's been really good at the first week there. She was just gung ho. But then through getting blood tests, the idea is to, before anybody takes a whole bunch of vitamins, you have to understand how many IUs you need to take to be able to make sure that your vitamins work. Otherwise, you're spending a whole lot of money for nothing. So, you've got time right now, research and go to clinical trials and stuff like that. And then you'll see exactly what they've been doing, because this is what happened with me. With researching stage 5 kidney disease, excuse me, I noticed that we could not feed her when I was looking for diets and things. You cannot feed somebody on stage 5 kidney disease what you would feed them on stage 4, stage 3, stage 2. It all changes, the whole makeup, depending on their kidneys and what they can handle, and what would really cause stage 5 kidney disease or stage 3 or whatever. We had there was a trial where they were talking about two young men who were using chemicals to purify water. They ended up both in their 20s with stage 5 kidney disease. Okay. So a lot of people are not realizing what can happen to their kidneys when you take all kinds of things or try different things, because your kidneys are what filters everything, and they're really, really, really important to your health. So same with your bladder, same with your hearts, so people will pay attention to the heart, but they're not going to pay attention to their kidneys. So the thing is we're seeing a huge elevation of cases of stage 5 kidney disease. And I was amazed, because by 2010, they were saying that 110 million people in China have kidney disease. Okay. What happened to China? McDonald's, Wendy's, all of these things. So when you look at what you put in your mouth, there's going to be a cost to that. And even though you're healthy, eventually it'll catch up with you. And if you take antibiotics, well, you might be susceptible to things like C. difficile and all kinds of viruses and infections and everything, even acne. Okay. So a clean gut can be the start to being able to make yourself better. You have to start somewhere. Taking a whole bunch of vitamins won't help if you don't have a clean gut, because then you can't absorb the medication. So with our friend, we had to worry about absorption. Um, she had to be on iron pills while they were making her nauseated, they were making her bloated. It was just horrific. So eventually the doctor said, well, you know, it, she doesn't want to take them anymore. It's okay. But then we had to worry about her iron levels. Okay. So, okay, now we switched to iron rich foods, cream of rice. Good. So, but again, you have to eat so much of this stuff that you'd have to eat way too much to be able to replenish what you're missing. Now, we never would have known what her levels were if she did not get her doctor to, I mean, if she didn't have a blood test. So we've been monitoring her blood work, and that gives us an idea of where to go with her numbers. And her creatinine levels in her blood were sky high. But when we started monitoring her, we saw a huge change, because they also make you have a urinalysis. Okay. So with her urinalysis, what I did before she came out of the hospital is I bought this. Okay. I ordered them from the States because I couldn't find any here. And it's called the Rapid Test Complete Test Strips. And it's for people with kidney disease. Also includes tests for pH, UTI, which is urinary tract infections, okay, and liver, diabetes, kidneys, and gallbladder, okay. So this here, it comes in this bottle here, okay, and you'll see that it's got all of the, it shows here what you should be at. So every morning, and then in the afternoon, I take her tests, and then we were seeing a difference, and then we were seeing that, wow, okay, so when they told her she had stage 5 kidney disease, it was from a urine test at the hospital. And when they gave her a blood test, well, it confirmed it, right? Because now her blood was sky high in creatinine and everything else. However, by monitoring, not just giving her one urinalysis and taking many after she was here, her tests started to change. So her creatinine level went down by half from her blood tests. So then the doctors are saying, well, her blood tests are all over the place. So now, given her latest blood test before she ended up back in the hospital, because by this time she didn't have enough electrolytes, okay, because she was always nauseated and everything else. And then we thought, well, geez, there's something else going on here. I mean, this isn't right. If her stage 5 kidney disease, okay, shows half with the urinalysis that's been reduced by half, it has to do with everything she's eating. So what else causes creatinine levels to rise? And, her leukocytes and all of these things. So I ended up having to learn what these are. And what cytokines are. So, I mean, white blood cells and everything else. So here they'll give you, an indication of what to do, but you also need a blood test to back it up. So with her blood tests, okay, they were coming back really good, because they were still showing that her iron was increasing, her calcium was increasing, but her creatinine levels were decreasing. And her albumin levels were good. They were normal. So her urea was right in the right range. And it was like, okay, well, this doesn't make sense. So if she's no longer losing muscle mass in her urine detection, it kind of looks like her kidneys are starting to work. So for us, that was a bonus. Okay, because now we know, okay, well, creatinine levels and stuff like this can confuse people into, or even doctors into thinking, okay, this woman had CKD, stage 5 kidney disease, end of life. That's it. Her ratio was Actually, at the first time she saw a doctor, it was at 15. She was just borderline to stage 5 kidney disease. And then it went down to, she ended up in the hospital. It went down to 9. And then after that, it went down, it came up to 10. So, okay. So, what are we seeing in her blood work? Because she didn't want dialysis. So, that was still floating around in her blood. But her urinalysis was showing a different story. So, it's important to know exactly what's going on and to try and, fix things like that and not to go overboard with vitamins and stuff without knowing what levels you have. Because we ended up finding out that with anything, and this is why I'm talking about, like, a lot of people will be taking vitamins right now. Well, let's hope you don't go overboard, because this is what happened with her after her first hospitalization is she went home and she read, and then she ended up having a potassium and phosphorus overdose type thing. Okay, she just inflated and everything got out of whack. So anyway, she ended up in the hospital the second time, and this is when they told her, well, stage 5 CKD, and even if you'd have dialysis, it might not help either, because first of all, she didn't want to hear about dialysis. So after 2 blood tests and watching her for 3 weeks and really looking at the numbers, then when the doctor called and said, well, she would rather have her in the hospital, because at this point, this woman was, unfortunately, her electrolytes were a little bit low. Even though we'd give her the electrolytes and bring up her sodium, it wasn't being done fast enough. Something in her body was going through it very, very fast. So what I had noticed by taking her blood pressure and getting her to take her blood sugar levels back during the holidays was that we were noticing that she would be having a meal because she thought she was diabetic, and she'd have a meal. Her sugar after the an hour, well, about an hour after the meal, would be 11, and then an hour and a half later it was down to 7. So by the time she'd go to bed, her blood sugar had dropped really low. So when she'd go to bed and then she'd get back up in the morning, she ended up having getting herself with too much of a low blood sugar count, and then it induced hypertension, high blood pressure. I mean, she was walking around with 237 blood pressure. And this is when the doctor sent her family doctor saw her and said, okay, well, you're going to the hospital. And that was the first time she was hospitalized. And this is where the story kind of begins. But at the same time, she had no clue. So if she would have had, this is a woman who really tried to take care of herself, to eat the right foods and everything else. And she ended up doing the reverse. Why? Because she never thought of getting a blood test done. Now in Ontario, Saskatchewan, and BC, Life Labs, you can get a blood test done. Anybody can get if you get a blood test kit online, you can get your blood work done, so that at least you'll know what you're dealing with. Okay, so this is why I'm doing this. I want to make sure people don't go, off the wall, trying to protect themselves against this flu, okay, the coronavirus flu, and take too many of something or not enough of something. There are steps that for those who can, please go online, get your test strips, get your probiotics, okay, number one, and then, get your blood test done, okay, or get your blood test done first. And then you'll be able to see where you're at and where your levels are, if your calcium is okay and everything else. So, they'll write that, yes, you need to have potassium in your system, but if you have too much potassium, you'll end up technically, how can I say, poisoning yourself. Okay. Same with phosphorus. Same with iron, because I never knew until lately that you can take iron supplements, but if your iron level is too high, you can go into shock, because the iron does not go through, does not come back out. So, and if you have kidney disease or any of these things, which you might not even know about, because if you have hypertension, I would look at kidney disease. Yes, the doctors did right by looking at her possibility of kidney disease. But at the same time, by monitoring her, we were able to see that there were changes within her blood and the urinalysis. So things were improving. And when she went into the hospital, the doctor said, "Don't worry, we're just going to do other tests," because then they had to check her parathyroid. In the tests that came back, her parathyroid was out of whack. So maybe her thyroid's okay. We don't know. I'm not a doctor. Okay. So this, for me, what I'm doing right here is giving you suggestions. I'm not a doctor, but from what I've been reading, you'd be way ahead of the game if you made sure that your gut had good flora in it, and you'd have a fighting chance if you have to go to the hospital or even take antibiotics. At least your gut will be able to handle it. So now, given, when we talk about antibiotics, some are okay with that. The antibiotics do not all affect the gut and create, the C. difficile or the E. coli technically within the body. So when you're looking at this, how can I say, you'll be able to uh, be more ahead of the game, okay, by having a good flora. So the antibiotics, there is one kind, and I'm going to show you, and it was from the FDA, um, and they have actually a warning on it. I'm trying to see here. Where is it? Overview. I've got like 20,000 pages open here. Lockdown, frontiers, London research. Nope. Where is this? FDA. Oh, there we go. Infectious diseases. Okay, swine flu. I'm just looking here so that I can maybe show it to you. But anyways, the FDA in the United States took off an antibiotic that everybody was using worldwide, that was helping cause a lot of problems with people. So the antibiotics were actually causing them worsening conditions. So a lot of kids have had this, a lot of people have had this right up to 2018. We don't know how soon doctors were stopping to prescribe it. But given the influx of medical centers around the world, private medical centers, they were seeing that the cases were on the rise. Why? Because of all of these new clinics opening up, and prescribing, even with nurse practitioners being able to prescribe things. They, not all of them can prescribe all medications, but some can, depending on the medication. So they saw a huge rise in fatalities and stuff arising from that antibiotic. So I'm not trying to make you in fear of antibiotics. It's just that make sure you find out which one. Please do you're at home now, you can do your research, okay? And that's the whole basis of this. Please look into it. Look at everything you put in your children's mouths, your mouth, all of this, okay? That's really, really important. So our overall health is guided by different organs within our bodies. And if we help them along, it'll help us all the way around. So anyways, I'm just gonna, I wish I could find this. Where is it? Science Direct. I could show you. New York Times. Okay. Mortality risks. Oh, okay. I have something here that even though I'm not going to show you exactly what the FDA has written, I'm going to leave that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a show in regards to antibiotics in our bodies, the effects, and then you can decide what you want. But there is, in regards to the coronavirus, they do have something that works for it. It's a cure, as far as the French doctors in Marseille, who have been working on the coronavirus since SARS came out and all this. So I'm going to show you this video. It passed on, it's a post from London, Ontario. And this is in regards to a medication called hydroxychloroquine. Okay. And the thing is China's been using it, but the doctors in France are the ones that they're saying, like, why are they looking for a vaccine when we have the stuff that cures it? So when they say stuff like this, you have to wonder, why are they saying this? And are they going to actually really do something about it? Or is this just a big hype that they're now really using to keep everybody locked up? Okay. So what else is going on in our cities that we might not know about? Why do they want is it really because they don't want the spread of this? So we have to look at everything, and we're going to be discussing this within the next coming weeks. And now that everybody's stuck at home, we'll see about doing a show either in the afternoon or in the evenings. Whatever your preference is, please leave us a note and we'll discuss that. But what we're going to be doing is I want to make sure that you guys are ready with a pen and paper, and you're going to be able to take notes in regards to websites. So this is what I want us to focus on, because in the end, this is about our lives. This is about our children's lives. This is about our future. Are we going to be locked into our homes for how long? How many people are going to commit suicide because of depression, finances, and all this? That right now, as far as I'm concerned, our Canadian governments and the governments worldwide and the World Health Organization is putting people more at risk of dying than of other diseases and neglect and whatnot. Like, I mean, if we look at when we had to get our friend's blood test, under emergency measures, the technicians were supposed to come and take her blood at the house. They refused. So we ended up having to bring her out to the facility, to the lab. And then when I was at the lab, the young woman who was there says, how dare you transport these vulnerable people, you know, and really believing that this virus is so deadly, it's gonna, if I blow on her, she's gonna fall right over. Okay. I mean, this is how caught up in fear that people are. So we're trying to, you know, don't freak out. This is a flu. Okay. Like, hello. But at the same time, you can't really just say, well, don't freak out. But, you know, the common cold does have fever with it. You know, now they're trying to say that the common cold, you don't have a fever with it. Well, if you have a cold with no fever, you've got allergies. I'm sorry, but we need to start looking at common sense. Okay, so we're going to be discussing all of this week, but I want you to watch this because you need to see it. And I'm going to do a screen share with this. And I'm trying to find where I'm at here. I'm not used to YouTube. Sorry, everybody. Please have some patience. And I'm trying to get, oh, there we go. Okay, screen share. Where am I at here? Caption chat. Oh, there we go. Okay, advanced. Share computer sound. This one. Okay, now here we go. Okay. So the doctors in France know that they have a cure for this. It's a bunch of medications that is out there. It's always been out there, and this will work. Okay, so here it is.
The drug is called hydroxychloroquine, a tough name that could help in the fight of a tough virus.
In the lab, it helps control the COVID virus.
Typically, the drug is used to treat rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, but Dr. says there's promising literature that it can also serve as a preventative medication and treatment for COVID-19. And the focus of this drug for researchers will be on healthcare workers and long-term care home residents who have higher exposure risks to the virus.
I think it's a hopeful line of investigation, and we cannot leave any stone unturned. If this could work, we have to find that out, and have to find it out now, because there are a lot of people who are at risk.
In order to study the drug as quickly as possible, the research team has been funded by St. Joseph's Health Crisis Fund, which will allow clinical trials to take place in a matter of weeks.
The trial needs to be done to be sure that, first of all, that the drug is safe in older, vulnerable individuals, and that it is actually effective in reducing the likelihood of them developing the infection if they get exposed.
A little more than 300 participants will be needed for this trial, which will begin with residents and patients at Parkwood Institute. The research team then hopes to expand the drug trial to Mount Hope and beyond.
But we're also looking at the possibility of having other sites across the country, certainly in Ontario and across the country. And this would be other sites that have the research capabilities. So these would be research-intensive academic long-term care facilities.
The team hopes to begin the clinical study this month in order to get results as soon as possible, results that they hope will save lives. Celine Zadorsky, CTV News.
There we go. So anyways, there is good news, okay? But the thing is how long is this going to keep going? So we're looking at a time frame. I think that if Canadians are wise enough, we're going to be able to continue with our court cases and things, but we really need to look at actually becoming responsible citizens here. And if we want to know the truth, we need to be in charge of our governance. We also need to be, and it's high time that we are in charge of our governance, because as long as we have the Queen here, you know, the government's in charge and we're not allowed to know anything. They can do whatever they want. So if you really want to be able to be, to have a society that helps each other out and everything, well, we need to start working together in our governance. Okay. So this is why if you go to thepowershift.ca and see what we're doing there, or the Canadian People's Union, or myfreedom2017.com, you'll see what we're trying to put together before this virus actually happened. So anyways, this is why we're trying to do this, to make sure that people don't freak out right now, don't give up. There are things that are going to be happening. A lot of medical doctors are starting to stand up. Yes, a lot of this stuff doesn't make any sense at all, and we're going to be covering that. But we want to make sure that the people remain calm and see that yes, there's things that you can do. And anyways, as far as this stuff goes, it's very important. You can get all kinds of other tests online. You know, be aware. You know, get blood tests done and look at your physical body and know what you're putting into your mouth, you know, may be stuck in there and not come out, and then you'll have an adverse reaction. So just make sure that you know what you're up against. So with us, again, with this virus, and even with our friend there, we were giving her apple cider vinegar. Like, I mean, she you know, she swears by it, and so does Dennis for his heart problems. So if you look at apple cider vinegar, and it's the one with the mother inside, it's these here are like little gummy bears, and I picked that up at the pharmacy here on Six Nations, and they're actually really good. Okay, so you know, so this is what they are. Okay. And then what I do is I'm taking super B complex vitamins. And okay, I'm just trying to wonder here. Okay, whoops, there we go. And come back here. Sorry about that. Okay. Now I'm not sure, am I still live here? Yes. And maybe not. Okay, yeah, we're still live. So, and then we also have, like, I take the B complex, but if somebody has kidney stones, in the researches that, in the research and the trials, they use B6 vitamin in a really high enough dose, and actually baking soda. Okay, so when you're looking at all the trials, one of the main ingredients they use is baking soda and B6 vitamins. So B6 vitamins helps you to absorb other things. Okay, so if you're trying to get more vitamins in, at least include B6, so that at the same time it could help you with removing stones or even gallstones, which are cholesterol crystals that also end up going into people's joints and causing acute rheumatoid arthritis. Okay, so anyways, the B6 vitamins, and if you take actually omega 3 is good. And what we have is the flax omega 3. And what I did is I ordered this, took a month to come in. This is turmeric, okay, with curcumin. So here is the one that I bought. It took almost a month to come in because it was stuck in Vancouver. I had to order this from the States because it has pepperine in it, pepper, okay? So again, this is for inflammation. So anyways, you don't have to take 10,000 kinds of vitamins. Vitamin D, sit outside and get some sun. But if you're going to take some vitamin D, vitamin D3, in the clinical trials, they're saying 50,000 IUs, which is, what the minimum that they were using in their trials if they're trying to help something along. If you're just trying to stay, if you're healthy and you're trying to keep it up, then the other ones are good. So anyways, just make sure that you connect properly, with the information. Check it out. If you're interested in getting your body really on board. Also, osteotherapists, massage therapists could help you as well, because the neck, your spine, everything is interconnected, your feet, all of this helps with, again, absorption and relaxing everything. So, while you're in quarantine, don't you think it's time for a good massage? So anyways, I'm going to be back here in French. I know this was kind of rough shot, first of all, with no microphone. But anyways, we've had a hell of a month here with, not being able to leave the reserve, and then trying to get groceries done and get everything that we need. It has just been horrible. And as far as I'm concerned, this is going to get worse before it gets better. So in the meantime, I think what we need to do is stay calm, use common sense, and don't fall for everything that you see on TV. Focus on yourselves and your families to stay healthy. And again, probiotics, number one. Okay. There's different kinds, but as long as you got those two ingredients that I mentioned earlier, that should be good. Okay, so I'll be back this evening in French at 7 p.m. Je vais revenir ce soir à 7 heures pour faire une session en français. OK, à la prochaine. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.